Episode 36, Church History Part 6, The Land of Israel. Eusebius, a historian in the 4th century, which is around 301 to 400 AD, wrote in his book, The History of the Church. He says, "The last siege of the Jews under Hadrian, the whole nation was prohibited from this time on by a decree, and by the commands of Hadrian from ever going up to the country about Jerusalem. For the emperor gave orders that they should not even see from a distance the land of their fathers. And thus, when the city had been emptied of the Jewish nation and had suffered the total destruction of its ancient inhabitants, it was colonized by a different race. And the Roman city, which subsequently arose, changed its name and was called Aelia, in honor of the emperor Aelius Hadrian." Cassius Dio, another historian in the 2nd and 3rd century AD, who was of Greek and Roman origin, wrote in Roman history, "At Jerusalem, Hadrian founded a city in place of the one which had been razed, Razed, to the ground, naming it Aelia Capitoline, and on the site of the temple of the god, he raised a new temple to Jupiter. This brought on a war of no slight importance, nor of brief duration, for the Jews deemed it intolerable that foreign races should be settled in their city and foreign religious rites planted there." Eusebius wrote in Demonstratio Evangelica, "Jerusalem is even now like a quarry, all the inhabitants of the city choosing stones from its ruins, as they will for private as well as public buildings. And it is sad for the eyes to see stones from the temple itself and from its ancient sanctuary and holy place used for the building of idol temples and of theaters for the populace." In reading the words of Eusebius and Cassius, the Israelites have been scattered, murdered, and their land destroyed. The land filled with a new nation of people, and the land built into something that does not resemble or look like the original inhabitants. But this colonization started way back with the Syrians and the Babylonians. We also see the historians using the names like Jews and Jerusalem with the letter J. Hebrews did not use the letter J, but the letter Y. The letter J came into existence in 1524 approximately, which means it's only 496 years old from today. Thus, someone has been changing history with the use of the letter J to redescribe a people, a nation, a place. And by now, we should all know why. Just keep this in mind when reading and researching history, especially when they're talking about Israelites. Judah is really Yehuda or Yehudites. Israel is Yisrael or Yisraelites. And Judea is actually Yehud. Now back to Hadrian's reign from 117 to 138 AD. Not only is Hadrian known for his destruction of the Israelites, but he had a wall built while he was an emperor. Hadrian had the Roman military build the Hadrian's Wall across Britain, and the remnants of this wall is in England today. Herod the Great built the Second Temple in Jerusalem that was destroyed in 70 AD. Historians say the western wall of the temple was the only part still standing after Titus and the Roman army finished their demise. The western wall in Jerusalem is known today as the Wailing Wall. Yes, the wall where Jewish people or descendants of Japhet and Esau, Muslims and Christians come to pray. Judaites and Israelites with defined Hebraic roots did not pray at walls, especially not a wall built by their captor. Think about it. Why would true followers of the Torah pray at a wall built by a Roman emperor? You see, it doesn't make sense to the true followers of the Torah and Yeshua. By the time Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD, the majority of the Judaites and Israelites were long gone. However, the more radical Israelites who wanted to still stand for their country stayed to fight against Trajan. These radical Israelites were believed to be somewhat Hellenized. And then in 135 AD, the Israelites, led by Simon Bar Kokhba, who were also Hellenized, had grown further and further away from their Hebraic roots when they were slaughtered by Hadrian and the Roman army as they tried to revolt. It was common to see Israelites being morphed into the ways and patterns of their captors. Israelites who wanted to maintain their Hebraic roots left to other parts of the world and often had problems wherever they went. The land of Judea is renamed to Palestine, and Jerusalem is renamed to Aelia Capitolina per Hadrian, the Roman emperor. Our people, the Judaites and Israelites, and the land that was promised to us has been a hot commodity since day one. Everyone wants this land. Everyone wants to be identified as the chosen people of the Most High. It started way back with Canaan. He ignored the lot given by his father Ham and took the land promised to the Israelites in Jubilees 10:28-35. Egyptians took us into slavery 400 plus years, Exodus 12:40-41. Mesopotamia enslaved us for 8 years, Judges 3:7-8. The Moabites also enslaved us 18 years, Judges 3:12-15. Canaanites had us in slavery for 20 years, Judges 4:1-3. The Midianites enslaved us for 7 years, Judges 6:1. The Philistines and the Amorites enslaved us for 18 years, Judges 10:6-16. The Philistines enslaved us again for 40 years, Judges 13:1. The Syrians attacks the Israelites and takes their land in 2 Kings 17. During the 900 and early 1000 BCs, Solomon builds the first temple of Jerusalem, and following his death, the people of Israel split into two nations, the kingdom of Judah in the south and the kingdom of Israel in the north. The southern kingdom of Judah included the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, and it was named Judea or Yahud. The remaining 10 tribes in the north were a part of the kingdom of Israel, called Samaria or Shamaron. In the 700 to 750 BCs, the Syrians destroyed the kingdom of Israel in the north, and many of the 10 tribes dispersed throughout the world. In the late 500 BCs to 600 BC, the Babylonians and King Nebuchadnezzar destroys Jerusalem, the first temple, and the kingdom of Judah. And Judah scatters into West Africa and other parts of the world. Jeremiah 52. In 63 BC, the Romans take over Jerusalem. And between 20 to 37 BC, the second temple is built by Herod the Great, not by Israelites, but by Rome. In 6 AD, the Romans take over Judea. In 70 AD, the Romans destroy Jerusalem. In 135 AD, the Romans destroy the remaining Israelites. Then Christianity spreads throughout Rome from 70 AD to the 300s AD. 390 AD, Byzantine Christians take over Palestine as the Western Roman Empire falls. 614 AD, Sassanid Persians invade the Byzantine Empire and captures Jerusalem. 635 AD, Umayyad Caliphate and the Arab army, who were followers of Muhammad, conquered Palestine. The ban on Israelites living in Jerusalem ended as the area became more Muslim. 750 AD, discrimination against non-Arab Muslims led to Umayyad being replaced by Abbasid as the ruler of Palestine. 900 AD, Fatimid from Cairo and followers of Islam conquers the region. 1070 to 1071 AD, the Seljuk Turks conquered Jerusalem. 1099 AD, the Latin Church, known as the First Crusaders, took over Jerusalem and established a Catholic kingdom known as the Kingdom of Jerusalem. 1187 AD, Ayyubid defeated the Crusaders and took over Jerusalem. 1291 AD, Mamluks of Egypt, following the ways of Ayyubid, took over Palestine until 1516. From 1516 to 1917, the Ottomans take over Jerusalem. 1516 were the Sultan Turks. 1660, the Druze dynasty. 1799 AD, Napoleon. 1844, the Tanzimats, Ottoman. 1864 AD, the Ottoman Vilayet of Syria. During the Ottoman period in 1897, Russian immigrants created the Lovers of Zion movement, also known as Zionism, as a political organization to help settlers in their newly created communities. The Ottomans' reign ended in 1917. Then the British take over the land of Jerusalem, or Palestine. 1914 through 1918 AD, World War I begins. During the war in 1917 AD, the Balfour Declaration is signed. The Balfour Agreement and how it came about is in episode 11. In summary, the Rothschilds blackmailed the U.S. President Wilson to bring America into war on the side of the British, so the British could have and give the land of Palestine to the Rothschilds. Yes, this was the purpose of World War I. 1922, the British Mandate, or the British rule over Palestine, and the Balfour Declaration was confirmed by the League of Nations. 1948, at midnight, on May 14, 1948, the Provisional Government of Israel proclaimed a new state of Israel. On that same date, the United States, in the person of President Truman, recognized the Provisional Jewish Government as de facto authority of the Jewish state, who are the descendants of Japhet and Esau. De jure recognition was extended on January 31, 1949. 1967, Jerusalem is under Jewish control, who are the descendants of Japhet and Esau. 1980, Jerusalem is declared the capital of Israel. This review of the timeline clearly shows the occupants now in Judea and Samaria, but today we call Israel or Palestine is not the Israelites of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The majority of the Israelites left with the invasion of the Syrians, and the majority of the Judaites left after the Babylonian invasion. Then many more Israelites left before the 70 AD destruction of Jerusalem. The Israelites who remained conformed to the ways of their captors and became Hellenized or Christians. Israelites had to scatter with each invasion, with each foreign takeover, by mostly the descendants of Japhet and Esau. And the Hebraic roots of the Israelites diminished. And look at us now in this land that's not our home, ruled by the sons of Rome, or Japhet and Esau. We've been here 400 years and have conformed to the ways of the Romans, including their Christian religion. Our Hebraic roots are foreign to us, not knowing that we are the same people scattered, and we're looking nothing like who the Most High made us and called us to be. On Monday, Truth Wars was finishing up this Friday's podcast notes, but by Tuesday, the Most High changed it. So we started from Hadrian to begin studying the occupants of Israel through the 20th century. And it is very clear. The Israelites from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are not in this now Israel. They are scattered with the Syrians, the Babylonians, and the Romans. And prior to 70 AD, many Israelites and followers of Yeshua left when Stephen was stoned and when Peter was killed. Abraham was not a Jew. He was not in Judaism, not a Muslim, and not a Christian. Abraham was a Hebrew who received one-on-one instruction from the Most High. As we seek truth, please seek truth with us. Please send questions or comments to info@truthwars.com or comment here. We don't claim to know everything. We just seek the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that knows everything. Let truth roar, let truth reign, let truth speak, and let truth set you and your entire family free. Truth roars, truth reigns, truth speaks, truth sets me free. Please see a podcast disclaimer at truthwars.com.